So, Trevor, one of the things we like to do on Wednesday is we like to talk about game wreckers. And some of this stuff is going to sound familiar because it's going to be very similar to what we talk about in a lot of weeks because it's the same thing is true and we haven't really seen it step up. And a game like this, a lot of times the game is decided by guys that really take the game over, guys that make those big plays or have those dominant performances where they just wreck whatever it is your plans are. You know, we were going to come out as an offense and we were going to try to do this and that. And boy, that guy for that other team just kicked our butts and wouldn't let us get that going. That guy wrecked us. That's what a game wrecker is. You know, we're gonna try to come out and throw the ball to Marvin Harrison a bunch and have a bunch of yards, and Benjamin Morrison locks him down. He just wrecks what we were trying to do. And now we got to figure out something else, and the offense never really gets rolling. I mean, there's all these type of things that you look at. This team was trying to shut down our run game, but we came out and we ran the ball all over them, and we had, I mean, that as an offensive coach, that's your guys are either going to take the game over and wreck what they're trying to do, or they're going to do that to you. Right. And that's what game wreckers are. And this game is going to be very important in that regard, is what players or units, you know, or a couple tandems really step up and say, hey, we're taking this game over. You know, I'm trying to remember who it was. There was what game it was, but Georgia was playing in the game last couple of years, and they were really struggling early. And Brock Bowers is like, all right, just start throwing me the ball. And just takes the game over, and Georgia rolls. You see that stuff all the time. You know, like, hey, we had a good game plan. We shut them down early, but then this one guy just went off, and there was nothing we could do about it. Who are those guys going to be for Notre Dame? Who could those guys be for Georgia Tech? And that's what this next segment's going to be about. And I want to start with the Notre Dame offense against the Georgia Tech defense. And these two things kind of go hand in hand. And obviously the quarterback has to play well. That's a given. We're not going to get into that too much. I want to see what the complementary pieces to Riley Leonard do in this game. And it starts out wide. What pass catchers finally step up and say, hey, I'm taking this game over? Because even though the pass game was better last week, it wasn't a dominant pass game. And I mean, you know, Bo Collins had a really nice big play, but he also had a fumble that was proved costly, and he had a drop in the game. You know, he did good. Chris Mitchell did better, but he didn't exactly like take the game over and dominate. And right. Who is that guy? We saw nothing from the tight end group until a screen pass later in the game. Is it Mitchell Evans? Is it Eli Raritan? Cooper Flanagan? Is it Bo Collins? Chris Mitchell? Who is that guy? Somebody in the pass game against a team that's not good protecting, not good defending the pass, needs to step up in this game. And so when I think of potential game wreckers, it really comes down to, for me, Bo Collins and Chris Mitchell, Jaden Thomas, and KK Smith against the outside corners, and then the nickel and safeties against Jaden Greathouse. Those matchups are going to be key. And I know you talk about that in an article that we'll be publishing at Irish Breakdown later this afternoon, Trevor, of the key matchups. You talk about the receivers against the corners as well. This is a big part of this game. Georgia Tech's entire game plan is going to be, do not let Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price and Riley Leonard as a runner beat us. Make one of those other guys beat us. And we got to find out if Notre Dame has the players at receiver to actually say, okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this game over. We're going to beat you. And I will say this, last year against Georgia Tech, Bo Collins had 5 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. I would love to see another performance like that from him. Yeah. But who is that guy on the perimeter that steps up and says, hey, watch out because we're ready to roll? It's going to be huge in this game. Sure.
I mean, whoever the game wrecker is out of that receiving room, and I'm to the point where I don't care who it is. If it's Bo Collins, let's ride. If it's Jaden Greathouse, let's ride. If it's Jaden Thomas, if it's Chris Mitchell,
Jaden Harrison,
literally.
Gordon Faison comes back.
100%. If it's anybody, if it's any ball catcher, if it's Mitchell Evans, like when he went on that 5-game stretch like he did in 2023, if it's Eli Raritan, if it's Cooper Flanagan, what you have right now in your offense is you have 3 dynamic runners who all say when it's kind of that time, they kind of have that dog mentality of like, I don't care what's going on. Give me the ball. Give me the football. If you can start to spread that out into the pass game, it's going to be fantastic. But right now, you can kind of look at the stat sheet and say it's probably Bo Collins because he's like the statistical leader of that room. But you don't have anybody right now that if the game is on the line, because at some point, I don't know if it's going to be against Georgia Tech or if it'll be against USC or if it'll be in the playoffs. at some point you are going to need to drive down the field to win the game or put the game away. And right now, I don't have confidence to say the receiving room has a guy that's like, hey, I don't care who's on me, get me the football. If it's one-on-one, throw it up. I got you. I'm your guy. Right. And so whoever emerges as that game record, they have the opportunity to do it this week against Georgia Tech. Right. Not only does Georgia Tech give up chunk plays in the passing game, but they are at the end of the day still a really gritty defense to where you can walk away from that and say, okay, yeah, they did that against a 5-2 football team. So it will just feed into the confidence of the overall passing game, and it will give Mike Denbrock a guy where, and ideally it's multiple guys, but let's start with one first before I start getting a little too greedy and say, well, is it 3 or 4? You know?
Yeah. Can we just get, yeah, exactly. Can we just get one first? Can we just have one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We get greedy next week.
Yeah. Next week after one of these guys breaks out, I'm going to start talking. My keys to victory will be let 4 of their big dogs eat in the passing game, right? But let's start with one, and that will give Mike Denbrock a lot of confidence on, it's a 3rd down. We know who we're going to try to scheme open. It's a game-winning drive down the field.
You know who that's been this year? You know who's the best guy they've had this year in those situations?
Jaden Thomas.
Not even close. Yeah, absolutely. And no one else is even close. He's been so money in those situations. He really has been. He really has been.
From every aspect. The routes he runs on 3rd down are crisp. He catches it. Like there's not a lot of worry about drop. He will get the yards that he needs to. I'm with you.
Yeah, he's playing at a very high level. There's no in those situations, in those clutch situations. Now I want to see a little bit more from him. That's going to be kind of the next step for Notre Dame is getting a little bit more. So they need somebody on the perimeter step up and take this game over. Otherwise, I think it will be a dogfight. I think this will be if the pass catchers don't step up. And look, you also can't be in a situation where Riley Leonard has to make the perfect throw every time. You need guys to, I'm watching games all over the place every weekend where Evan Stewart's making a crazy catch in the end zone. And okay, yeah, he's an elite. Okay, fine. I'm watching games between 2 teams that aren't Notre Dame, SMU. And their receivers are making these tough catches. We don't see Notre Dame's pass catchers do enough of that, partly because Riley doesn't give them enough chances to do that. But we're not seeing them make those plays even in those instances where they are. I thought KK Smith did one of those. Riley threw that post corner route, and it was a very well thrown ball, but it was also the corner recovered, and KK had to make a somewhat competitive grab, and he made it. And I actually thought he caught that ball that Riley, they called it pass interference or the roughing the passer on Riley. I thought KK caught that ball. They ruled it incomplete, but I thought he caught that ball. So I don't care who it is. They need it. They need that to happen, in my opinion. So,
100%.
We'll see if anybody does. Here's the second one for me, Trevor. You still got to have your dudes be dudes, right? Yes, it'd be nice if the complimentary pieces step up, but Notre Dame's offense goes as far as Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price can take them. It can't be a Riley Leonard show. It's going to be a lot like the A&M game. Georgia Tech's going to bottle you up at times, but there's going to be 3 or 4, maybe 5 opportunities in this game where you're going to be in space against a linebacker, against a safety, against a corner, either as a pass catcher or a runner, and you've got to make them miss. And against Georgia Tech, they probably had 4 instances where that was true, and every single time they ripped A&M up. And they've got to do that again in this game, where when you get those 3 to 5 chances to do something special, got to do something special. And so I think the running backs, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, need to be that. It's been a couple games, really, I think, since we've seen both of them really go off. I mean, Jeremiah was not used as much this past game, and Jadarian was good, had a nice run, 4.9 per carry. Against Louisville, obviously, Jadarian came out early and didn't play. I mean, it's been a minute since we've really seen them both go off. This would be a great game to get both of them back on track. Be a nice game to have them be using them both together in some instances as well. But in those times where they get in space, Trevor, Notre Dame needs them to make big plays and wreck this game. Those are your 2 best game wreckers on either side of the ball, in my opinion, when it comes to these type of just game-changing type of plays. Them and Xavier Watts. How about that?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 best to just change a game with a play type of guys.
Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price will always be on the game record list for me because they are the 2 best weapons right now that you have on offense, whether it's one of them or both of them. As a duo, they're batting 1,000 as far as when you need the big play, one of them will step up and make the play. Now, ideally, to your point, it's both of them at the same time. And in games like this, in games like USC and down the road, you want it to be both of them at the same time. But at the very least, one of them will step up and kind of make that play where you can sit back and say, oh, yeah, that's why we have them. Like, yes, thank God we have Jeremiah Love. Thank God we have 24 in the backfield, right? So they will always be game wreckers for me. Because in good games like this against gritty defenses, to your point, Brian, you said it the best, you need your dudes to be dudes. And you have to rely on that. As much as this will revolve around you need that additional person to step up, you also still need the people that you've relied on up to this point to get you and finish where you need them to be, right? So I'm with you 100%.
And the last one for me, Trevor, when we get into this matchup of game wreckers, is it's more of looking at the other side of the ball. It's Anthony Knapp doesn't need to be a game wrecker. He needs to make sure that Romello Height doesn't become one. That's a big key. Or one of their other edge players. But Romello's the one I'm most concerned about because of his speed off the edge. Like, I don't need Anthony Knapp to play a phenomenal second coming of Joe Alt type of game. Just do your job and don't let that guy take the game over. Don't let their edge players take the game over. I mean, there was 2 plays last week where he killed the offense, just killed them early. One is the hold where Riley ran for 19 yards, get you all the way down to the Stanford 30. You're knocking on the door of the red zone, and now it's 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20 or whatever. And then the other one was you have a 3rd down opportunity where if you don't have Riley Leonard at quarterback, that drive's over. Riley spins out of it, ends up running for a 1st down. Like, you can't be in those. You just do your job, man. Give Riley time to throw. Give the offense time to work. Don't let Romello Height be a game wrecker. If all Anthony does is just play solid body on a body football for 60 minutes, I'm thrilled. That's all he needs to do. He doesn't need to be Joe Alt. Just don't keep getting smoked like you are. And if he can just be more consistent and just solidly consistent throughout the game, limit some of those bad misses, then I think they're going to go off, because I think that's the kryptonite for me in this game is Georgia Tech, a team that's not great at really getting after the quarterback, gets after the quarterback because Notre Dame's pass protection can't hold up. I mean, and look, Stanford was even worse than Georgia Tech was at rushing the quarterback, and they beat Anthony Knapp 3 times in the first 2 series of that game. So that's the big key for me is Anthony Knapp cannot allow the edge players, especially Romello Height, from taking this game over. Like Florida State's allowed him to do in the opener. That they can't allow that to happen.
Don't allow this to be a breakout game for Georgia Tech's pass rush, because we've seen what their numbers are and we've seen what the stats are. Don't be the team that opens the door for Georgia Tech to say, hey, are we turning a corner as far as our pass rush goes? Put that to rest. I agree with you 100%. He doesn't have to go out and be Joe Alt. He doesn't have to go out and be, any of the illustrious left tackles that Notre Dame has had in the past. I look at it very similar to how I viewed what my expectations were of him in the Texas A&M game going up against Nick Scorton. You don't have to go out and be Joe Alt. You don't have to go out and be Liam Eichenberg or Ronnie Stanley. Be Anthony Knapp and just do your job. I'm not expecting you to pancake every single guy that comes across your face. Wouldn't be upset if it happened. Believe me, I wouldn't be. But that's not the expectation, right? And so, but the expectation is do your job. And that is the bare minimum, is doing your job, right? The coaching staff has shown that this is going to be the guy. This is the left tackle, right? Whether we agree with it or not. So now from an evaluation standpoint, you just have to go out and do your job, man. You do that. Riley Leonard is showing that he's getting more confidence in the pass game. When you do your job in the run game, you see how successful the running game is. Switch it over to the passing game now. It's an and, not an or. And I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah. It is so important, Trevor. It really is. I like that you brought up the Georgia Tech game, because that was an example of, the Texas A&M game, excuse me. That was an example of he didn't dominate Nick Scorton. He just held his own. That's it. That's all he needed to do. And when he did get beat, he stayed engaged, and that allowed Riley Leonard to make people miss. Where recently, when he's getting beat, he's not staying engaged, and it's allowing free runners to the quarterback. And I've always said, look, as a quarterback, if you just give me time even if you get beat, that means you keep a body on a body, then I'm going to be able to do something with it. I don't need you to go out there and just destroy everyone. I just need you to keep a body on a body. Because here's the thing. I mean, you look at Georgia Tech this year, Trevor, and you look at what they do defensively and how they are, and they do a lot of really good things. But one of the things that I felt about their defense when I watch them, and you've talked about this, you've hinted about this in some of your analysis of the games, they're not a great tackling team outside of probably their middle linebacker, and their secondary especially is not a great tackling team. And so this is the perfect game to live up to what you and I always talk about, the mantra that you and I talk about, which is I don't need you to dominate up front. I just need you to get a body on a body. And then let Riley Leonard eat, then let Jeremiah Love eat, let Jadarian Price eat. And honestly, they could put Aeneas Williams and Keedron Young in the game, and they're going to do the same thing. I mean, that's how loaded this team is at running back. I mean, the most impressive run of the game on Saturday was Jeremiah Love's bounce of the inside zone for a touchdown. The second most impressive run of the game was Aeneas Williams' first carry, where he makes a dude miss in the backfield and then picks up the first down. I mean, I was like, he had that great spin move. I'm like, this dude needs to play.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you watch Aeneas on his touchdown run. That might have been the third most impressive run of the game, was Aeneas on his touchdown run. And you're just like, you are loaded at running back. I don't care if it's Jeremiah Love. I don't care if it's Jadarian Price. I don't care if it's Aeneas Williams. I don't care if it's Keedron Young. Do your flipping job. And then, oh, by the way, you've got Riley Leonard as a runner. But do your job, get a body on a body, and let this team go to work. It really is that simple, Trevor. It really is.
100%. All of the things that we talked about letting your game wreckers be game wreckers, and Jeremiah Love, and Jadarian Price, and somebody breaking out in the receiving room, some of it is reliant on the offensive line doing their job, specifically on the left side. So if that can happen, all of those things combined, this will be a fun day for Notre Dame's offense. If not, it's going to be a dogfight.
That's right.